Hey, I'm Paige.
And I'm Brandy. This is Spectacular Specimens, a show where we find out about some fascinating creatures and what their specimens can tell us about the living world.
Today we're diving deeper than we've ever gone. We're going to the Twilight Zone.
Ooh, the Twilight Zone. What's that?
The Twilight Zone is the part of the ocean that's around 1,000 feet deep and deeper. The water pressure in the Twilight Zone is so heavy it can crush humans.
And you want me to go there with you?
Brandy, we're not literally going there. Use your imagination. In this deep part of the ocean lives a truly marvelous animal. This animal has a bird-like beak and the body of a whale.
I'm sorry, all bodies are beautiful, but what in the world are you talking about? The body of a whale and the beak of a bird?
Yes, they're called beaked whales. And today we're gonna meet one. But first, we have to find it.
When people think about the deep ocean, they think that it's this vast, dark expanse of nothingness.
This is my scientist friend, Amy Van Cise. She's a marine biology professor at the University of Washington, and she collaborates all the time with Seattle's Burke Museum of Natural History and Culture. And she knows a lot about the deep ocean.
It's actually full of life, right? There are tons of different fishes that live down there, tons and tons of sharks live down there, and lots of squid.
The deep ocean's a vibrant place, bursting with colors. There are all kinds of creatures glowing, shimmering, doing little radiant dances. And check out the names of some of the species that live down there. The glowing sea cucumber, the sea pig, the Pacific black dragonfish, the vampire squid.
Vampire squid? That must be why they call it the Twilight Zone.
No, the Twilight Zone and even deeper Midnight Zone in the ocean have nothing to do with actual vampires.
If you say so.
It's called that because it's almost completely dark, but a little bit of sunlight might peek through. And both twilight and midnight are the perfect environments for the mysterious creature we're looking for today, the Baird's beaked whale.
We're going whale watching? Tell me more about the whale we're looking for.
Well, first you should know there are all kinds of beaked whales. There are actually more than 20 species.
What all of these species share in common is that they are all very, very deep diving whales that live kind of out in the deep parts of the ocean.
And the whale we're looking for, the Baird's beaked whale, is the biggest beaked whale species in the ocean. It weighs about 25,000 pounds. It has sandy gray skin, and it makes clicking sounds that researchers say are similar to a blinking flashlight sound. Kind of sounds like a zipper, too.
Ooh, a zipper. Searching for this mysterious animal that lives deep down sounds really hard. There's got to be some kind of special method or technique, right?
How to find a beaked whale, number 1. Head out into the middle of the ocean, keep your eyes glued on the water, and keep your fingers crossed.
So if you want to see a beaked whale, you have to get on a boat, and you have to go hundreds of miles into the ocean, and then you have to find them. Beaked whales, they dive for up to 2 hours, and they come up, they breathe a couple of times, they're at the surface for maybe 3 minutes, and then they dive again.
3 minutes is not very much time to get up close to the whale. It could pop up really far from the boat, so Amy and the team have to look very carefully until they see a beaker pop up for its breath.
And so you see them, and somebody shouts, "Beaked whale, over there!" And the boat goes running. And the boat almost always gets there just as the whale is diving again. Maybe you won't get to them the first time or the second time, but maybe you'll get to them the third time. And on that third time, a couple hours later, maybe you'll get a photograph. Maybe you'll even get a tissue sample if you're really, really lucky.
Paige, this sounds impossible.
It's not impossible, Brandy, but it's definitely not easy.
By and large, it takes a long time and a lot of effort to collect any data about these animals at all. They're elusive.
Baird's beaked whales are known to stay away from people. They've even been described as shy. So even though they have to come up for breath, they generally don't want to spend much time on the surface.
Wow, so even if we knew exactly where a beaked whale lived, they might not even come up anywhere near us. Oh, what if we scuba dive? Meet them where they're at.
That would be cool, but we'd have to dive really deep to find one. Beaked whales have evolved to live deep down in these dark, wondrous places.
How deep is this whale living exactly?
Why don't you guess? Let's play How Deep Is Your Whale? So imagine an item you think is 3,000 feet tall, that if you put in the ocean would go as far as the Twilight Zone. That would just barely reach where the beaked whales live. So I'll tell you if the item you guess would go deep enough. Ready? Guess.
What about the tallest tree in the world? The giant sequoia in the redwoods.
Okay, nice try, but that's way too short. Even the tallest trees are only a little over 350 feet.
Okay. What about the Space Needle?
Not enough. You'd need like 5 Space Needles.
Oh. How about the Eiffel Tower in Paris?
Ooh, closer. Beaked whales usually dive around 3,000 feet, and the Eiffel Tower is more than 1,000 feet tall, so if you had 3, that would go deep enough. I love your guesses. Thanks for entertaining this little game.
Anytime.
But also, a human can't dive 3,000 feet. The water pressure down there is way too much for our bodies to handle. Imagine diving down to the bottom of a swimming pool. That's 5 or maybe 6 feet. While you're down at the bottom of the pool, you might feel little bubbles pressing against your ears. That's water pressure. The further you dive, the more the water presses on you. So if you go down 3,000 feet in the Pacific Ocean, where beakers live, the water is so heavy it's like there are more than 6 school buses stacked on top of you.
That would squash me.
Yeah, but somehow it doesn't squash beaked whales. That's why scientists want to find beakers to figure out how on earth they don't get smushed.
Okay, so we can't scuba dive, and it's hard to scan the water for a beaked whale, but maybe someone has a Baird's beaked whale specimen?
Well. I've got some great news for you. There just so happens to be a Baird's beaked whale skeleton hanging in the lobby of the Burke Museum. They even call it the lobby whale.
Ooh, I like that name. A lobby whale!
There are actually only 10 museums in the United States that have a beaked whale, and the Burke's one of them.
If it's so rare, how on earth did the Burke get one?
Oh, now that is a really good question to ask Jeff.
Ooh, let's go ask Jeff.
Yes. After the break, we're going to find Jeff, check out the lobby whale, and learn how scientists got a hold of this very rare specimen. Hey, did you know this show is actually being made because of the people who support KUOW Public Radio? Yep, we love them. If you want to help out, go to KUOW.org/spectacular.
Brandy and Paige from KUOW looking for Jeff Bradley.
Come on in.
Thank you.
My name is Jeff Bradley, and I'm the collection manager of mammals here at the Burke Museum. You can think of me as the librarian of the mammal collection.
Jeff, we know you already. You told us everything we know about domestic beetles in another episode.
And you have a beaked whale.
Yes, a bit of luck that this whale conjured up out of the deeps.
So here's how Jeff got hold of this prized whale. It all started with an email.
They got a whale in an email?
Kind of. The email was from this group called the Marine Mammal Stranding Network. The group was on the beach one day in Washington State, and they can't believe it. A Baird's beaked whale had washed ashore.
They rarely make it to shore even when they're dead. They typically sink before they're washed up on the beach, so they're understudied.
I cannot believe a beaked whale just washed ashore and into Jeff's email after Amy spent all those hours looking for one.
I know! But Jeff's job wasn't easy either. Sure, he got the hookup for this rare whale, but he then had to figure out how to get it cleaned up and back to the museum. So he got a team together and headed out to the coast to see the whale for himself.
So there was a long bit of anticipation. When I got there and walked around, the head was immediately identifiable as a large beaked whale, and I had never seen one, and that was really amazing to me. Overall, I was shocked at how powerful it looked. You've ever seen a tiger or something up close? You can see the muscles under the skin. It just looks powerful, like an amazingly powerful torpedo.
This whale, she's full of whale fat, which is called blubber, and weighed like 25,000 pounds. Jeff's got people there to take apart the blubber, pull out the bones, clean the blubber off the bones.
We had a whole bunch of knives on site, and actually one of the volunteers, their job was basically to continually sharpen knives, because going through blubber is tough on the edge of a knife.
We're talking about 7 inches worth of skin and blubber as thick as like a couch cushion, and you've got to cut through it to get the bones out.
You can imagine it was quite a butcher scene on the beach.
This sounds like a really messy job.
It really does. But you know who loves a messy job? Decomposers.
Oh, right. Decomposers are a kind of organism that eat dead, rotted flesh.
Yep, and they got to help with this process. Jeff realized that cleaning the bones was too difficult for his human crew, so they buried the beaker under the sand and invited decomposers in.
And then we left for a year.
Jeff kept going back and forth from Seattle to the coast to check out the bones.
And we dug up a bone, and it really was still super stinky.
But one day, Jeff digs up the bones, and the decomposers have finally eaten the whale bones clean. Or at least clean enough.
Clean enough that I said this can't spend another year under the sand. We put the whale bones in 5 boxes, plus a pallet with the skull strapped to the pallet.
But once Jeff and the team arrived at the museum with all these whalebone boxes, they realized there's a problem. Nobody knew where to put a bunch of whale bones that were clean enough to be moved, but definitely not clean enough to display. So Jeff had to get creative.
We hauled this entire skeleton up onto the roof of the old Burke, where we set it out in the sun for just over a year.
What? They just let the whale sunbathe on the roof of the museum?
That's right. This whale that spent its whole life thousands of feet under the ocean's surface was now drying out on a roof. Until finally, Jeff found some experts to reassemble the bones back into a full-sized skeleton.
And they got them all put back together and created this work of art that's hanging here in the lobby.
A lobby whale! But the skeleton is not only a work of art. Jeff and Amy spent time examining the skeleton up close, and that's when they learned this animal is not like other whales. When we come back, we unlock the mysteries of the lobby whale. There she is, hanging overhead in the Burke Museum lobby, a cryptic whale from under the sea.
The lobby whale.
And if you head to the Burke to get a look at this rare beaked whale, pay special attention to her rib cage, because there's something extraordinary happening there.
All the ribs locked together. The first two just right together, and the next two right together, and the next two right together. The bones just locked together, and they're protecting all the vital organs in this incredibly strong, reinforced skeleton barrel.
That's the secret, Brandy, the ribs. They lock together and make the bodies of all beaked whales impenetrable so they don't get crushed by the water pressure of the deep ocean.
And you don't see that in other whales as much because they don't need to withstand such great amounts of pressure. They have all evolved a really similar body shape. They're kind of built like torpedoes to be able to shoot through the water. The hypothesis is that beaked whales, rather than trying to compete with all of the other species that are at the top of the ocean, competing with each other for food, they have evolved to be able to dive deep.
Predators that hunt the beaked whale, like killer whales, can't follow them down.
So once they get down there, once they do all the hard work of getting down there, there's just a smorgasbord of food and nobody else to compete with.
Nice, a deep ocean smorgasbord. It sounds like a nice life being a big whale in the deep ocean.
It does. And scientists wouldn't know much at all about that nice life in the deep ocean without multiple methods of study.
What do you mean?
Well, without field studies like Amy's, scientists wouldn't know how deep beaked whales can dive or how far they can swim, because field researchers often put satellite tags on beaked whales to track their locations. They wouldn't know where in the ocean beaked whales prefer to live, or that beaked whales often travel in pods.
Oh yeah, but then the specimen Jeff got on the coast allowed him and Amy to discover how the Baird's beaked whale's ribcage protects its body.
Exactly! But there's even more to that. Jeff said the day the beaked whale on the coast died, his team collected tissue samples from her. Those samples and her skeleton will stay at the museum even after Jeff and Amy are gone, and scientists will be able to keep studying her.
Wow, that's really powerful. This Baird's beaked whale that washed ashore continues to be important, but as a specimen. She'll keep helping scientists learn new things and develop new approaches for study.
Yeah.
There's so much that you can learn from a dead animal. And beaked whales are such a great example of that because they are so remote and so elusive. There are some beaked whale species that we only know exist because a dead one has washed ashore.
There's also something really lovely about how Amy and Jeff work together. They have different approaches and perspectives in their work. They're using different methods, but those differences allow them to learn even more.
I kind of want to dive deeper on that.
Good one.
Seriously, though, there must be all kinds of ways to bring multiple ideas and approaches together to learn new things.
Yes! That sounds like it's time for a big think. Big Think! Big Think question. How can we use different methods to learn about something?
I mean, I love that Jeff and Amy work together to help us all understand this big, mysterious, blubbery beaked buddy, but I don't know, this seems so specific to this one situation.
Brandy, come on. I know there's something you've learned to do by using different methods.
Yeah, you might be right. But I kind of want to slow down, like Amy, and think about it.
Alrighty, scan your vast and vibrant thoughts. We'll be back.
Hey, have you downloaded your activity book yet? Well, this time there's even cooler stuff in there. There are all kinds of games, a bird-watching journal, several kinds of drawing prompts like draw the day in the life of a Baird's beaked whale, as it breaches the surface to say hello and dives back down deep, deep, deep in the ocean. Sign up for your free activity book and get in on the fun. There's a link to get it in our show notes. Okay, back to the big think.
Hey, get enough time to think? The big think question is, how can we use different methods to learn about something? Brandy, what have you got?
Okay, so I've been thinking about it, and I realized that I actually do this a lot with language learning.
Ooh.
Like, one time I wanted to brush up on my Spanish before going on a trip.
See?
I used a language learning app, I watched Spanish cartoons and soap operas, I listened to music in Spanish, and I translated the lyrics, and I even read the news in Spanish. All of these different things helped me be more comfortable speaking, and they also helped me understand the language from totally different points of view.
Okay, yes, that's a great example of using different methods to learn something.
Yeah, thanks. What about you?
In my life, something I do is bake. And recently I wanted to make cinnamon rolls, and I actually used a few methods. First, I looked at the recipe, and that gave me pretty much everything I needed to know to make it. But I wanted to make them really good. So I used another method. I watched a baking video online and got some tips from that. And I also asked some advice from friends who are really good bakers and freestyled a bit on my own. So it actually took many methods of learning. And now I think I make the perfect cinnamon rolls.
You know, Paige, I am willing to test that hypothesis for you.
Oh, really?
Wait, this is really similar to scientists. Some scientists go to different environments to study, like beaches or deserts or forests. And some observe out in nature and others observe in a laboratory. They're all learning about the world, but in different places and in different ways.
Okay, amazing. And that's a wrap. Is there something you've learned about in depth by using different methods? Send us a note or draw a picture.
You can send us an email or a text. There are all kinds of ways to get in touch in the show notes.
Spectacular Specimens was created by me, Paige Browning,
And me, Brandy Fullwood.
with KUOW Public Radio in Seattle in collaboration with the Burke Museum of Natural History and Culture, with fact-checking by April Craig. Our theme music, I love that song, is by Emily Noakes and mixed by Eric Blood, and Emily Noakes composed a lot of the other music you hear in the show, too. If you like Spectacular Specimens and want more of it, leave us a review. Talk soon.
Bug you later.